Hi guys, today we're going to be working on creating our Moire patterns. So we have 4 in-class patterns that we're going to try, and then you can take this information and you can start working on your own sketches. So a little bit about Moire patterns. Remember, it's French for waves. Okay, so we are going to be creating a pattern with lines that show movement. So it's going to be a little tricky. So the first one we're going to do is called tunnels. So before you get going, you need to have your name, the hour, and the date in the upper right-hand corner. And then also make sure you have a good pencil with an eraser. And if you need to borrow one of my erasers from the front, they're in the red basket. Okay? So getting going on the first line, you can kind of see I wrote wormholes earlier. I changed my mind. We're going to write tunnels. Okay, so to start this one, you're going to draw just a wiggly line right through the middle of that first box. Okay, now on this line, I want you to put 3 to 4 dots and space them relatively far apart. Okay, now we're going to basically play connect the dots, and I always like to start on the left. You can also start on the right, doesn't really matter, but choose one side. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a line and you're going to go across, and every time that you come upon a dot, you're going to touch it. Same thing goes with the end of the box. Okay, so I'm going to go again. So again, my line touches the dot, and I'm keeping the spacing between the lines relatively close. I don't want it to get too big. So even though the tunnels are growing, they're getting taller, I'm still making sure that that line comes down and touches the dot. Eventually, the tunnels might get so big that they won't touch the dot, and then I just want to make sure that you're touching the crease. So this is called a crease when they start to kind of come together in the corner there. Kind of looks like when you open a book where all the pages are bound together. It's kind of what it reminds me of. So as you're doing this, I want to make sure that you're taking your time. If your tunnels are getting really big, so you can kind of see I have this big one right here, we can actually split it. Here's how you split it. You would just make sure that the next line touches the line previous, and you just split it in half. Okay, so now as I go across again, now I've created a new dot or a new crease. There, I just made another one. And so these are going to start splitting in half. So you can split as many times as you want to. It does make your design look more interesting. As you go along, you might find that some of your tunnels kind of disappear. Like this one's getting so small eventually, I bet it'll kind of disappear, and that's okay. Alright, now as I'm approaching the top of the box, I want to pretend like the lines just keep going. So squeak those in there. So here's what I mean. So I can't fit a line right there, but what I can do is take my pencil and I can make it look like the lines would continue outside of the box, even though they don't. So this is something that when we get to our final project, we want to make sure that we do. We want to give the illusion that these are continuing outside of the box. Okay, so again, making sure that all of the lines are connecting in a crease, right? There's no big gaps. So once you finish the top, you can start working on the bottom. If it's easier for you to flip your paper upside down and work upside down, that's totally fine. Okay, so again, making sure you're starting from one side and then going to the other. Making sure your line always touches the crease. If you want to split your tunnels, you can split them. That's no problem. I'm taking my time and I'm making sure that the lines are close. Okay, so I would keep working until this whole box was finished. I don't think you need to watch me do that. I think you can do that on your own. But when you get to that top again, make it look like these lines are continuing outside the box. So just like we did on the top, we want to make them look like they continue. Okay? Alright, so flip it back over if you flipped it around. And again, if I'm going too fast or if you need to pause, feel free to pause. That's what's great about videos. So this one is called a wormhole. Okay, and it starts a little bit different than a tunnel. So instead of a curvy line, we're going to do a straight line, and the straight line is going to be down at the bottom of our box. So you don't need a ruler for this. Just do the best you can to draw a straight line. Okay, and again, I want to see probably 3 to 4 dots. I'm going to go with 3. Okay, so the trick to this one is using straight lines and curved lines. So I'm going to try to like zoom my iPad in here so you can kind of see a little better. Is that working? Kind of. All right, there we go. So for this one, you're going to start straight, start with a straight line, okay? And then, this is a little fuzzy, sorry. I don't know if that's any better. Okay, so start with a straight line, and then as you approach that dot, you're going to come down, touch the dot, go back out, go around, touch the dot, back out, and across. Okay, so you kind of create this little teardrop or a little diamond shape, like a baseball diamond. Okay, and this is what's super important about this pattern. As you go across, you have to touch the line before it. So touch, go back out, go around, touch, go back out, go across, touch, go around, touch, go across, touch, around, touch, across. So you just keep repeating this. Now if you start getting big gaps, it's not going to look like the illusion that you want it to. We're hoping that these look like they're kind of forming out of the ground, like a mole or a worm was underground and they're kind of pushing at the surface. That's what these kind of look like, or at least they remind me of that. Okay, so just like with tunnels, you can split wormholes too. So for example, I'm going to split this one by touching the line before it. Cross, touch, making sure my lines are always touching. And eventually these are going to get so big that the straight lines are going to disappear. And that's okay. That's part of the pattern. They can disappear. Okay? So as you're working, double check, are the lines that you're drawing touching the lines previous? That's so important. If they don't, you're going to lose the illusion. Okay. So as I go across here, you can see, like, there go my straight lines. They're all just going to be tunnels now. No straight line there anymore. I got a little baby straight line there. All right, so all of my straight lines are pretty much gone now. So now these simply turn into tunnels. Okay, so you can still split them. Even if you split a tunnel once, you can split it again. That totally doesn't matter. They kind of start to look like tree branches when you do that. All right, so I would continue up all the way to the top, again making sure that when we do that, we make it look like the lines are disappearing off of the paper. All right, so make a little adjustment here again. Oops, sorry. Okay. I need to work on my videography skills. So this next one is going to be called seaweed. And this one is hard because there are no like specific directions. Like for these, you start with a wiggly line, you go from left to right or right to left, right? You start with a straight line, you go from left to right or right to left. This one actually starts with dots kind of placed all over. And you can add dots or take dots away as you need them within this pattern. So think of what like a piece of seaweed looks like, right? They're kind of like twisty, turny, under the sea, something like that maybe. Okay, that's what this pattern is going to end up looking like. So I'm going to start in a corner. I'm going to go to my first dot. I'm going to go back and forth, keeping my lines close together until they get about the size of a football. Okay, if they get any bigger than that, you need to move on. So once they're that size, you're going to play connect the dots, and you can go to another dot. And again, go back and forth. If you can't go back and forth smoothly, then you can pick up your pencil, right? That's fine. Okay, that one got big enough, so I'm going to move on. Okay, and I'm going to go down to this one. This one's going to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the tricky part of seaweed. You're going to start to get these weird open spaces within your pattern. What you can do is you can attach to other dots that have already been kind of drawn on. Okay, so now I have this open area. So one thing you could do is you could go diagonally across from dot to dot, and you could fill this in with lines. So it looks like that piece of seaweed just kind of got squished in the middle a little bit. Now, the only really rule to seaweed is that your lines cannot cross. They can't crisscross. Okay, so what I mean by that is, let's say, what do I want to do here? I want to go up here, and as I grow this leaf, if I start crossing into this leaf right here, this business, that's a no-no. We don't want that. We want it to look like the seaweed is all just kind of smushed together. Okay, so if I get a space like this, I might take this leaf and I might squish it into that little space. Okay, so again, this can be kind of tricky, right? If you start crisscrossing your lines like this, that's a no-no. But also to fill in these kind of weird spaces that you get. Okay, so again, I have a weird space, so I can choose what leaf I want to fill it in with. I think I'm going to use this big one. So I would just continue the lines, squishing them in between the other leaves. So I would continue to fill this box up until it's all filled like this area. Okay? The next one is called a hidden object. And for hidden object, you will need another color. So I would pick a colored pencil. You could use a pen, but that's kind of permanent. Okay, so to start, you're going to draw a simple shape in the middle, and the shape can be anything. It can be a square, it can be a circle, it can be a heart, whatever you want. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a heart. Okay, now the cool thing about the hidden object technique is that you can use any of these to do it with. Let's do tunnels though. That seems to be kind of the easiest for everybody. So what you're going to do is you're going to start your wiggly line across. Start with your pencil. Now once you hit that outline, you're going to stop. You're going to switch to your colored pencil, continue the line, switch back to your pencil once you go to the outside, and then go ahead and put your dots on. So anything inside the heart, is going to be a colored pencil. So now I'm going to start the pattern. So it's going to be pencil, right, working on that pattern. Oops, I hit the heart. So now I'm just making it look like that pattern continues. Okay, back to pencil. Hit the heart, colored pencil. Hit the heart again, regular pencil. So this one does take a little bit of time, but once you kind of get used to it, like you train your brain to switch quickly, it does go pretty fast. And the same rules apply. Like if you want to split your tunnels, you can split your tunnels. Okay, so I'm just going to keep working. I think I'm going to go to the bottom of the heart here because I want to show you what happens when you get past your object. Like, what do you do? So I'm just going to keep working here. And the cool thing about these is that, like, every time you do a pattern, like even though this is tunnels, it looks completely different than what I did previously. Okay, so I split this one. You can still split. All right, see how this one like got a little big? You can kind of fill those areas in. You can just put another line in to kind of make it look like it fits. Okay, so I'm getting to the end of my heart here. Like on the next pass through, I probably won't have to do any purple. So now I just go down to regular pencil. I have no reason to use purple because nothing is inside the heart. So now it's just plain tunnel. And I would just continue all the way down my paper. Again, you can still split your tunnels, that's fine. Okay, so I would continue this all the way to the bottom. So if I were to continue on the top here to get the rest of this heart, once I got to the top of the heart, it would continue with pencil just like I did down here. Okay, so a couple things to remember. Number one, fill the boxes in completely. So I didn't quite get to filling them all in completely because I'm already at 15 minutes, right? But you will have class time to do this. So take your time. Fill the boxes completely from top to bottom, okay? Making sure that your lines, when you hit an edge, they kind of look like they would continue off the paper, right? Another thing, make sure to touch the crease or the dot. So remember when we started with tunnels, we started with dots, and as the lines went across, we always made sure to come back to the dot. And if the dot's too far away, then we come back to the crease. So think about like when you open a book, right, in the pages, that's a crease. So then that goes for everything. Okay, so there are posters around the room. If you need a little bit of extra help, you can go look at those, and you can also look at the examples. Tomorrow or next time in the next video that you'll probably watch, we will talk about different ways to start your project. So different ways that you can combine these different patterns, different techniques you could try. So please make sure that you're doing your best practicing these so that you have the skills to move forward. All right, thanks guys.